Hi everybody, it's me Arden Lee. I wanted to take a quick moment to talk a little bit about oh wow, what's going on right now. And I don't know if I have enough time to do it all justice, but I had some pretty big thoughts come in last night, and it was super late. I was already in bed, and I thought it would be weird if I did a Facebook Live video from in bed at 3 in the morning. So I decided to save it till today. I hope I can remember everything that that I thought then. But while I'm waiting also for people to continue joining in to watch the feed, I would also like to let you all know, if you don't know already, that I have a show slash birthday celebration this Saturday in Los Angeles. My band Arden and the Wolves is headlining Bar Sinister, and we're celebrating my birthday, as well as the birth of my new album that is coming out called Who Can You Trust, which, as it turns out, is highly relevant to everything that's going on in our collective right now. So it's really excited to share it with everyone. I've been working on some really cool merch that we haven't had before. There's going to be t-shirts. I made some of those t-shirts into knot spell dresses. I cut them up and tied knots down the back and put a little love and blessing into all of them. I'm pretty proud of those. We have these really neat they're over there, but I've these really neat heart necklaces that are USBs of the album, so you can wear them and you can plug them into your computer for the music and the digital booklet. The digital booklet has a spell in it for each song that corresponds to each song, along with the lyrics for the songs and everything. So I'm really excited. I'm going to be baking a big giant cake too, because it's my birthday, of course. So come out. It's Bar Sinister in Hollywood. It's right off the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I would love to meet you if I haven't done so already, or if I have, I would love to see you again. So without too much further ado, so let me talk about what's going on right now. I understand where a lot of people are feeling disheartened, and we're like in the muck, we're in the muck right now. But what's really going on here, what I see going on, is there is a mass wave of trauma healing happening. I recognize this because mine started happening about a year ago, about at the same time. It lines up really, really pretty remarkably, actually, with everything that is going on now. My 2016 was a lot of the collective's 2017, and my 2017 was, it appears, what this coming year of 2018 is going to be for a lot of people. One of the things that is happening right now, and why I think that there is a really positive outlook for the future, is that stuff has to come up for it to be healed. You can't heal something if you don't deal with it first. And what we're doing right now is we're dealing with it. Some of us are dealing it with a little more maturely than others. But what's happening is that there is a real split happening in our society, particularly in American society, that we're really seeing where the problem lies. As you've seen, even last year, Donald Trump's Time magazine cover that was, the tagline was "The Divided States of America." And what's happening in this divide is that we're able to practice discernment so much better when people's true characters come to the surface. And it's painful to lose friends and family members that you had wished to remain close to. But one of my favorite singer-songwriters, Jonathan Brooke, has this beautiful lyric that I've loved ever since I was in college, which is, "No knowledge is too much to bear in the end." And anytime I have been in pain, anytime I have been in suffering, it is because the real world did not match up with my expectations. And the sooner I was able to readjust my perception so that I understood more about what was actually going on in the real world, the better I was able to adjust and find the things that I was wanting to create. And the cool thing about this is that the more we are seeing this split happen and the better we are getting at practicing discernment, the more we are able to veer off to those places where we do feel safe and where we are surrounding ourselves with the things that we want. And it's really helpful, I believe, in times like these to understand that even though there is so much pain and so much suffering going on, and so much that is wrong with our country and our culture and our, hi guys, I love seeing your comments, by the way, so please feel free, ask questions, say stuff. If I miss it, I'm sorry, but I'll try and make this a participatory discussion as much as I can. It is helpful to remember in this time, as much pain and suffering as is present, and as much oppression and systemic injustice is present in our government, our administration, and the very fabric of our culture, I think it's really helpful to remember that we do live in a free will universe of infinite possibility. I know that sounds really fucking optimistic and really fucking privileged of me to be saying at this point in time when there is so much unfairness out there. But I think what we're understanding is that we're coming to a place where we're realizing that we've relied on a lot of sources outside ourselves for our comfort. We relied on our government. We relied on what we were brought up to believe about Social Security. We brought up we've relied on what we were brought up to believe on the usefulness of a college education. Even we were brought up on the promise of reliable job market. We were brought up on a lot of lies, and it sucks when we have that moment of realizing how much of what we were brought up on was lies, and how much we were promised, and how much our world has not delivered. And I understand, and I felt a lot of that pain myself. And even for me, I've been incredibly privileged. I have a lot of factors that have made my own personal struggles, it wasn't great. I don't have some like Hollywood family opening doors for me or anything like that, but I did have a really I do have a really supportive mom who really encouraged me to pursue my dreams, and who helped out with things when I needed them. So I have parents I can rely on. I have my mom and stepdad, which makes me incredibly lucky and incredibly blessed. So I recognize that as I'm saying this, of course I have privilege. Who am I to say, oh, hey, we live in a universe of infinite possibility? But I want to let you know that I really didn't feel that way very much before I started healing my trauma and realizing that that it was on me to let go of those lies that we were brought up with. And here's where the good news starts hitting, is that as we are seeing this divide happen, as we are better able to practice discernment because we are seeing people's true natures, when all of these issues are coming up and people are being very vocal about them, one of the things that we are able to do is I am seeing more and more in my own communities of people who are unplugging and becoming far more self-sustaining. And what does that mean? Well, for one, it means that all of these conversations coming up around due process, hey, do we even have due process anymore, or are we just crucifying people in the court of public opinion? Well, actually, we can't rely on due process. And women have been talking about that, not just women, but specifically a lot of survivors and a lot of women that I've seen are talking about the fact that we cannot rely on the legal system to always provide justice for us. We cannot count on being able to go to the police and say, XYZ happened. This person assaulted me, or and truly, some of the cases we're talking about aren't even questions of legality. I don't think anyone is trying to say that Aziz Ansari should be behind bars. I'm not. I don't like what he did, but and I absolutely believe that we should be having these conversations, but I'm not seeing anyone on the, for lack of a better word, on the survivor's side of the argument saying that incarceration or illegality is the answer. It's only the people saying, well, why is this a problem? Because only the people who are resisting the conversation about it are derailing back to the issue of legality. One of the things about that is that we're no longer relying on the legal system to be able to discern for us. We want to be able to discern for ourselves. Do we want to continue to support someone like Aziz Ansari or not? And in this same unplugging, we're also kind of realizing that we can't count on the financial institutions the way that we used to. People are kind of saying now that even having a 401k is kind of pointless. People are talking about, there being, potentially in the coming years, being a debt forgiveness jubilee where a lot of people's what they would have had in retirement or whatever might not be there anymore. I don't really know the details. I'm not an economist, but one thing that I do feel very strongly is that going forward into my future, and I know that I share this belief with a lot of other people who are in my communities. Someone says, due process only ever existed for rich white men. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a corrupt system. So yeah, we cannot rely on that for ourselves. The people who are unplugging from this are realizing that we can't rely on that. And in that same way, the people that I see around me in this same kind of wave are also saying, I had a friend who lost $20,000 on Monday in cryptocurrency. And he's kind of like, he realized, he said, this is the biggest financial loss I've suffered in a long time, but I'm not really upset about it because I've realized that I am the value and I have the ability to make more money for myself at any time I need just by adding value to my community. And I'm feeling kind of the same way about myself lately. I'm also, as I've been transparent about, I'm also hiring a money coach because Chris Hollywood, who you can find on some of my Facebook posts, he's a super rad guy, super smart, because of course I want to stack my odds and I want to know as much about that system. There's also a reason I'm hiring Chris, because he's around my age. I don't want someone from the old paradigm. I trust Chris to be progressive enough that he is part of the changing paradigm. That's really super important, by the way. But at the same time, I am less worried about oh my God, cryptocurrency, oh my God, 401k, oh my God, what am I going to do, than I am worried about, do I, within myself, within my personhood, within my body, my own operating system, do I have the ability to add value and receive value in return? Because all our money could burn up overnight. It's like, I don't know about you guys, I'm starting to think that Bitcoin is looking a little bit like tulips. And if and when that happens, I'm not currently invested in cryptocurrency. It's something I've been thinking about. I'm gonna ask my money coach what he feels about that. But, I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not gonna live in fear that the system is failing us, because I'm starting to trust myself, my abilities to self-sustain, and my community to also be able to support me. we see that a lot with people having GoFundMes. It is fucked up that we don't have that GoFundMes are starting to be more reliable than people's health insurance. Yes, that is fucked up, and I believe we should put energy toward fighting that and fixing the system where we can. But ultimately, there's a real freedom in understanding that we can't rely on the system. I haven't had health insurance since I was, I don't know, 23, maybe, and I mean, I'm lucky, but I'm here. That doesn't mean that I have not had some very big hospital bills. I have a giant scar right here. It was my $18,000 tattoo, but I lived, and I paid some of it. I didn't pay all of it. Stuff happened, but the point is, I'm here. The system failed me in many ways, but I'm here. I'm really here, and I feel more securely here than I have in a long time, because when everything started coming up, I started really looking at the lies that I had bought into about how safe or protected I was. That's not the case anymore. And I'm not saying that that's not a cause to be angry. And Virgil wants to join us. I'm not, absolutely. We should be angry at injustice as much as it serves us to be so, as much as it calls us to action to fight for our fellow men and women. At the same time, I'm really finding freedom in understanding that whatever I need is something that I can create for myself. And while I will acknowledge that that I have some privileges and I lack others, I still believe that whoever we are, wherever we are, while some of us may have more resources than others do, we all have an ability to source the kind of support that we need. And the fact that more and more of us are unplugging and talking about that and no longer relying on the old paradigm is really, really positive, I believe, because we're at the same time becoming more self-sustaining, but not just ourselves, but also our communities and our tribes. So this is not about American pull yourself up by your bootstraps individualism. This is about find your people, find your role within your tribe, add value in whatever way is unique to you, find your purpose, your soul mission, find what the people around you need, and be able to offer it to them. I had a lot of limiting beliefs after, many of you know that I spent time in my 20s as a professional dominatrix, and I made pretty good money doing that for a while, and then I lost it all, bailing my boss/boyfriend out of jail, and I was outed in the New York Post. And all of a sudden, I was like, what was I, like 27, with 4 years of a gap on my resume, and I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And I was like, there's no corporation, there's no company in this paradigm that is going to look at me and say, well, what were you doing for those 4 years? And I say, well, I was a professional dominatrix, and then I had to bail my boyfriend out of jail, and then I was outed in the New York Post. Want to hire me? And that may have been a limiting belief on my part, which is also like part of the old paradigm, like gives us these limiting beliefs that we need to depend on them. But at the same time, I have managed to heal, first of all. which is really important. And I've managed to begin creating a life for myself where I don't rely on anyone but me. Where, you know, I rely on me and I rely on my ability to serve my community and my ability to receive support in return. So I put a whole bunch of stuff out here on Facebook, like this video, for example, and I understand that that I have a service to offer, that I can help people to hack their lives and their thoughts and their belief systems and to manifest the things that they want to manifest in their lives and in their relationships in the way that I've been able to do. And I realize at the end of the day, the value is me. That's my friend Michael Rostowski said just the other day in one of his posts. He said, "You are money. You are so money, and you don't even know it." And weirdly enough, because I've invested so much in my music, in my business this past year, because I'm building so much, I am actually, you guys, I am broker than I have been since before I was a pro dom. I am at the lowest point in my actual money, between like that and car accidents and, you know, all this other stuff, that I am at the lowest point in my financial place that I have been since I was like 23. But I feel great now because I know that I hit that bottom and I'm turning it around. So you know, because I have been building, and because I believe in myself, and I understand now where my value is. Does that make sense? Like, that's really not a false optimism, or I'm trying to talk myself out of that. I actually feel like I feel better about it than I have in a long time. I feel a lot less trapped, because even when I had more money, I was still very limited with my beliefs in the ways that I was able to get it, and I was in a scarcity mindset for a long time. Which is weird, because I was in a scarcity mindset even though at times I had much more money than some other people around me, and I still was dealing with the trauma of having lost it all or whatever, always feeling that there was never enough. Now I'm like, oh no, there's going to be enough, because I'm enough, because what I'm offering is enough. And yeah, I have to clear some blockages, and I probably should learn about ClickFunnels and stuff like that, but like, I'll figure it out. Like, I am the value, I am the gift. So as we move into this, you know, I don't know what this is going to look like, because there is a real big shift between the new paradigm and the old paradigm. And in leaving behind the infrastructure of the old paradigm, you know, the ways that health insurance, that financial security, that due process all worked, we're finding things now, like we're finding how they work with us in our hearts and in our bodies, for lack of a less cheesy term. We're learning discernment, and we're learning what feels good. Like I said, no one is trying to send Aziz Ansari to jail. In a weird way, like, no one's even pushing for Weinstein to go to jail that I know of. We just are saying that we don't want people in positions of power who don't know how to use them. And for all you guys who are like, oh, the court of public opinion, you know, this is not, you know, this is really not the bloodbath that a lot of people are making it out to be. People like Matt Lauer, people like Aziz Ansari, people like Louis C.K., people like Weinstein even. You guys, they're still gonna die millionaires. They have everything they need. They are merely being taken out of positions that they don't have authority on. For someone like Aziz Ansari to have written a book called Modern Romance and then proved that he has no idea how modern romance is actually supposed to work, that's something that we need to be examining. So please be a little realistic about what is actually going on. And ask yourself too if you would really want to be in a position that you weren't qualified for. And no offense, but if you're a white dude, really ask yourself that question, because you have been socially conditioned to believe otherwise. I'm sorry to tell you, you've been socially conditioned to believe that the name on your corner office is more important than your ability to do your job well. I'm just going to say that. That's not, that's not a matter of opinion. Maybe you personally don't feel that way, but the currents in society are telling you that that is what is important to you. So that's, you guys, that's not a good thing. That comes back again to like what we're talking about all this coming up to be healed, about, before it's like, oh, everything looks like it's cool, but it's a lie, right? So we're really connecting to our truth right now. We're really connecting to what is true and what feels good and what works. And the reason it sucks right now is because it sucks to have your reality shattered, and it sucks to have all your trauma come up. This came up for me, like I said a year ago. For me, it was reading The Body Keeps the Score. I read The Body Keeps the Score shortly after launching a trauma healing sigil. Like that wasn't going to change my life. And it was like, it was like Jenga. Everything just came piling down. There's a really interesting article. I wish I remember who wrote it, but it's on my Facebook wall. But it's basically about this woman who's coming forward saying, I think I would have disagreed with Grace, the anonymous woman in the Aziz Ansari story. I would have disagreed with her definition of that as sexual assault, but now I'm wondering if it wasn't her that was wrong about whether if it was assault. I'm wondering if maybe actually it was me who was wrong. And that's how I felt about my assaults too. I made all the justifications. I said, well, I could have kicked him in the nuts. I could have, I could have quit and worked another job. I could have, there's so many things that I could have done to get out. But at the end of the day, I should not have been coerced into performing oral sex by an employer. That's not supposed to happen at your job. I shouldn't have even been asked. That's not, if you're the boss of someone, there's a lot of pretty girls in New York. Like there's other people, that is not something that is not something you want to do. Yeah. I'm trying to remember where I was. Oh, right. So that came up for me. So all of a sudden this story that I told myself about, well, I was, I guess I agreed to it, I guess, whatever. I re-examined it and I said, no, I was, a young woman in my, like, what was it, late 20s by that point. And, he was a man who was much older than me, who was literally in a position of authority, screaming in my face about why I should give him a blowjob. That wasn't okay. So, as all of these stories are coming up, people are able to look at their own stories. Another thing I want to say too about, there's a lot of people out there being like, well, why now? Why now? Why didn't you say this 20 years ago? Well, 20 years ago, we didn't have the frame of reference for this, and we were still making all of those excuses for ourselves because it was embedded in that culture. So just because someone hasn't talked about their rape that happened 5, 10, 20 years ago, it doesn't mean that it's not true. It means that they maybe only realized that it was a rape or an assault recently. I was talking to someone who was in the military about this, who was clearly had some opinions about, he's like, I don't understand all these females coming up about rape and this and assault that. And I said, well, okay, you don't understand that. Do you understand veterans who come home from the Vietnam War and don't talk about what happened until they hear fireworks go off? And he understood that. So we hear the fireworks. Oh shit, that reminds me, I saw my friend Bobby's face get blown off next to me in the trenches. I hadn't thought about that because I had repressed it, or because I had said, well, that's just war, or, whatever. So as more people are telling their stories, as more people are doing their work publicly, more and more is coming up for other people. They're putting all of the pieces together, and more people are understanding their own narratives in a different light. And I also have a problem with going back and judging what happened 20 years ago by today's standards, because we did not have the same lessons and the same education in place. However, we have to acknowledge that what happened then was still not healthy for anyone because of our collective social paradigm. And we have to look at moving forward and creating something better. And that is part of that conversation. So what I'm seeing right now, like I said, is everyone is working on healing their trauma on a really collective mass level. And it sucks right now because we're in the thick of it. We are in the mud. And I remember when I was there healing my trauma and looking at everything that had happened to me throughout my entire life. And by the way, you guys, I went really hard on this. I went hard and I went fast. And this is why I almost kind of disappeared for a year, other than the only things I were writing was about this process because I had to make it my priority. But when I was doing that, it sucked, and I felt like Rocky in the corner, just getting like punched in the face over and over again. But I was like, I want this to be over. I want to be through it, and I want to be on the other side. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going at it really hard. And I can give you guys advice for how to do that process yourselves, whether you want to be more gentle on yourself or whether you want to go like I did and say, let's fucking do this and let's get it out of the way. It's up to you. Only you can decide the optimum volume on your dial. But yeah, it does suck, but I just want to let you know that as far as I'm seeing, everything that's going on right now is incredibly positive. Doesn't always mean that I wake up in a good mood every day because I log on to Facebook and I'm getting triggered by stupid people with dumb opinions. No offense, but we've been talking about this for a long time, and if you still have a dumb opinion about it, you need to catch up on the conversation, please. I really loved on that subject, I really loved the Lindy West piece in the New York Times yesterday about how we've been having these conversations for decades, but largely men or people who, people who were conditioned, socialized by the patriarchy, which was myself, up until a couple of years ago. Admittedly, I was, absolutely brainwashed by the world I grew up in. I will freely admit that. We are, I totally lost my train of thought. We are breaking free of those constructs. Is that what I was saying? And we're unplugging and we're seeing that we are seeing them for the reality that it is. And while that sucks, and like I said, being in the muck of trauma is never fun. Moving forward, moving through it, there are such incredible, amazing rewards on the other side. And I'm starting to feel them for myself. I'm starting to feel them for the collective too. And I think that the more, we're evolving. We are evolving as a society right now, and we get to make a choice. And that's really exciting. It's really pretty cool, actually. And there are a bunch of people. This is about finding your tribe, this is about finding your tribe, finding your community, and creating a new paradigm, because we can't rely on the legal system. We can't rely on everything that is in place, that the patriarchy has put in place. And we understand that now. And while it's good for us to give some of our energy to finding and changing that, I'm not saying that that resistance is wasted energy. I think resistance is incredibly important. But if we are resisting from a place of, we need the system to change because that is the only way we survive, I'm going to say that's a little disempowering. I'm going to say, let's change the system because right now it's not benefiting all people. But at the same time, let's create something that is a sustainable life now for ourselves, where we can be happy and find out what that looks like for us. That's kind of where some of that self-care and nurturance culture is coming in. Can we find those communities where we can retreat from that world as much as possible and start building our own thing? So for me, that means building my own community and relying solely on myself, being self-employed. And can we unplug from the energy of unfairness enough to build something for ourselves with our team? Can we rely on the people that we know we can rely on, and not need to rely on the people that we know we can't rely on? And now more than ever, it is easier to tell those two kinds of people apart. And I think that's a good thing. So that's pretty much all I got for today. I am off to my rehearsal. I really hope that if you guys are in the LA area that you will join me on Saturday for my birthday party at Bar Sinister. And if you're not, if you are joining from afar, I really hope that that you'll check out my album when it comes out. It's set to debut February 9th. It'll be everywhere. Available on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon. If you can buy it, it's probably going to be like $5 because there's 5 songs. That would be an amazing birthday present to me. But if you can't buy it, if money is tight right now, hey, if you want to put that shit on repeat on Spotify, that does great for me too. So thank you guys for joining. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And yeah, keep trucking, keep getting through it, and keep following your heart, because it's all we got right now. Thanks, guys. See you later.